All right. Good evening. Can you hear me? Maurice, good evening. Um, this is going to be a very short one. Good evening, everybody. Um, I'm just trying to see how I can spend the next 1 hour plus on talking about numbers and strings, right? So I'm just gonna quickly um, talk about just show the previous thing that we did right on the stream. So the previous time out, right, we did something relating to um, iterables, right? That led us to generators, and that led us to you know async generators and all these interesting things. And we finished with a very interesting way to generate alphabets, right? So you can generate alphabet with this approach of using your I. So we created a to Z iterable, right? This is just an object, but we're manipulating this symbol dot iterator to be able to create the object. So it's able to give us, so anytime you specify any alphabet, then it's able to give you like whether it is A. So all the alphabet between A and Z is able to give to us. And that was what we did on the last time out. And I said we could, we also talked about weak maps, and we talked about weak sets, right? Most of the advantage of the weak map and the weak set is mostly around the fact that we can use them for caching or use them for as like a dictionary to hold information, just like a database, basically to hold something, right? So that is that. So today, I just want to explore like methods that primitives are. Primitives are our strings, numbers, booleans. All these data type, they have some methods inside of them that enable us to manipulate them. So I'm just going to quickly do a rundown through, right, and then we'll see how powerful they can be. Again, a particular guide from I'm following a particular guide from I'm following a particular guide called javascript.info if anybody is interested. And I also try to make it as beginner friendly as possible, right? So we've talked about all of these things here. So you can check the YouTube channel, right, for all of the videos regarding to this, and we're on data type. So starting from next Friday, I will be working with advanced working with functions. I think it's going to be an interesting one because there we're going to talk about recursion, we're going to talk about stack, we'll talk about rest and spread, we'll talk about variable scope and closures. Then we'll take a look at old VAR. Then we also talk about the global object. Then we'll talk about the function object, talk about the new function syntax. I had an opportunity to use the new function syntax recently, so it's a very powerful one if you are in the situation that needs it. So yeah, scheduling APIs, the set timeout, set interval, then decorators and forwarding, and then call and apply, then function binding, and we also would visit arrow functions again. So I feel like I should be able to do this in 2 Fridays or a Friday. A Friday won't be enough, but 2 Fridays should be very enough. Then we can move to the next one, which is object property configuration, and we'll go to prototypes, and then we explore classes, we explore error handling. So the goal again is to just teach all of these things here: error handling, promises, generators, modules, and all these other ones here: proxy and reflect, eval, current, reference type, begins, Unicode, weak ref, and finalization. So when we are done with that, then we move to the browser side of things, right? Where we talk about, document API, events, UI events, forms and control. So, I mean, the goal is just to talk about everything. And I think the interesting one will be this additional part where we're going to talk about like frames and windows, binary data and files in JavaScript, making your network requests inside JavaScript, storing data inside the browser, and doing animation with JavaScript, web components. This is a big deal. It's not so common again in this. I mean, it's coming back, but it wasn't. I mean, the web component, like for example, now Lit has been popping. I don't know if anybody knows Lit. Lit has been popping lately. Web component. I think there is Fluent UI by Microsoft. So Lit.dev, the company that owns Shoelace, I think, bought this. So I think this is what you have now. They don't call it Shoelace anymore. So it's very powerful. Like it's used by a lot of companies, right? Yeah. Okay. So there's still Shoelace. Okay, so there's still Shoelace, but I know that it's some both projects are similar, right? Yeah. So again, they have, it's very interesting because you can do a lot inside of them. You can do a lot inside of them. Yeah, maybe one of these days to we'll just play with Shoelace and see all the good things that they have in Shoelace. I think there's Fluent UI as well. Let me confirm. Fluent UI by Microsoft. Fluent UI by Microsoft. Yeah, no, there's Fluent UI. So it's also full of web components as well. It's web component stuff, right? So they have React version. They have the web component version. So I mean, it's very interesting because everybody's investing a lot um, into this space. Let's see. How do you use it? Give us an example. Quick start. Okay. I mean, it's still at the end of the day, it's still web component. Whichever company that runs it, it's still web component. So, um, yeah, and I think another interesting one I'm interested in so much is regular expressions. Regular expressions is very, very interesting as well. So we'll just go through all of this, right? The goal is to finish all these things. And when I'm done again, I'm just going to start all over again. I keep just teaching it all over and all over again for as many persons who want it and who needs it, right? So into the focus for today, right? We will be talking about strings and numbers. I mean, literally, string and numbers are quite like very, a little bit very easy to deal with when you're within the JavaScript ecosystem. That is, the major thing is that all these primitives, right, whether it is a string, whether it is number, whether it is big int, whether it is boolean, whether it is symbol or null or undefined. So except for null and undefined that don't have a way to some method that you can call on them, most of them have, I think most of them have most of them have um they have methods that you can call on them. For example, now when we talk about numbers, right? For numbers, we can, you can declare numbers in like, different ways, right? And you can also, you can convert numbers from different base to each other. From numbers, you can convert from decimal to base 12 to base 2, right? To base 4 to base 8, whatever base you want to convert them to, right? And then you can round up numbers, right, using the math.floor, math.ceil, the math.round, the math.trunk. Also, we can also there's a way to undo imprecise calculations. That is calculations like infinity or some other advanced things, right? There are ways to undo them. Um, also, we have methods to test numbers. There are methods to test numbers, right? That is, you can test. if a number is finite, or you can test if a number is NaN, right? There are APIs to do that. And then we can also convert with our pass in and pass float. And there are other ones like math.random that helps us to generate random numbers. We also have math.max or math.min, right? Or you can do math.power to like do raised to power, right? So that those are like the major things we just quickly want to run through, right, in today's episode, right, of the stream. Also look at strings, right? For strings, look at different ways to declare strings, right? The three major ways to declare strings. Then we start looking at special characters, right? How does string handle special characters like forward slash escape sequences and these other ones, right? Emojis, and all these other ones. Then obviously you can get your length property on strings, right? You can access characters using the indexing system of strings. Also, strings are immutable, right? That is, they can be changed by JavaScript, right? Except you redeclare, or you put it, or you do a copy and save somewhere. Also, APIs to change the case, whether to uppercase or to lowercase, right? And then we have the ability to search, right, with index of or substring or the sub str API. So also, um, right, we can would also look at slice. There's the slice on strings. We also have substring, right, and the sub str, right. They all do different, I mean, similar things, but in different ways. Welcome to the stream, boss. How are you today? Trust you're doing fine, and thanks for joining once more. Um, yeah, that reminds me. I don't know if you guys have seen the linked list video that I dropped. That was another very interesting one I dropped during the week. I did drop a video regarding the linked list. I guess we'll be doing more about linked list and about data structure and algorithms in general. So you find me just explain whatever the data structure thing is, and then we will then talk about like how to create them with JavaScript code, and how to use them, right? And what are the places where you would need them if there is ever a need to use them. Majorly, they are just formalities that software engineers just knows. They can come in handy at some level in your career, but I think it will help you to also understand like the whole concept of big O notation, that is the worst case scenarios of different algorithms and data structure. Yes, I'm doing very fine. It's been a busy week as usual, but hopefully I can like get a lot done today and focus on tomorrow. Is also another busy day for me. So, and Sundays as well busy. It's just the way it is for now. I hope that all this busy 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 can yield good fruit. So let's just get into like the bulk of what we have today. So like I was saying again, we'd also have an opportunity to compare strings. I did some comparison, like comparing strings in the last episode, right? So we'll just do a little bit about it again today. So I shouldn't take so much time today. It should be something very short, very short. All right. So let's just get into it. I'm going to create another file called strings, or let's just start with numbers.js. And if we have the number.js here, right, how do we declare numbers? You can declare number by what? By using the constructor format, right? You can do the constructor format and you declare a number like this, or you can use the literal what? You can use the literal approach, right? You can use a literal approach. So another one is you can declare, you can say let num equals to what? Just one, right? This is the literal approach, and then we console.log this. So let's run Coca on this. Um, yes, I guess there's a lot of videos to watch, and I hope you. I think just give me the feedbacks on that linked list video, because I mean I know it's a lot, and I used a lot of Copilot in there, so I think I used a lot of Copilot in there as well. But just you can give me the feedbacks, so that I can also like improve on that, so that by the time we have the next one, I can I can the video will be a lot more better and interesting. So here we have number, right? We declare number using the number constructor here, right? So automatically, right, we then have different things that we can do with numbers. That is, number one, we can I mean you can also declare number using you can also declare number using I think we can declare number using this underscore approach. I think it works, right? So underscore is used as a separator. I think it doesn't take the comma. The comma doesn't work. It's only underscore that works here. And if we were to be working with big int, right, the big int version of this will like big int version of this would just be what 1000 n, right? And if you do a type of big int here, then we can log this here, wrap with console.log, wrap with console.log, right? Wrap with console.log, and then we have it there. So this is way to declare what strings. And I think the first thing is what you can change. What you can change the base of a number. So when you declare number, it is in decimal, right? And then if we want to take it to another base, which is base 2, right? So for 1000, right, if we want to take 1000 to 2, we can say to what, to string, and take it to base 2. And this way, right, this is the result of taking what, it to what, to base 2, right there. And this is the result of, so if you want to take it to base 3, you want to take it to base 4, you want to take it to base 5, you want to take it to base 6, base 7, base 8, base 9, base we're already in base 10, so base 11, base 12, base 13, base 14, base 15, base 16, right there. So changing the base is another very interesting what API. So which API are we using? So there is a number dot to string, right? And it takes what? It takes two things. It takes the number that you're trying to convert to the base, and it takes the radix, which is representing the base, right? And it returns a string what? A string what? It's returning what? A string representation of what? A string representation of what? Our result in the end, right there. Also, we can round, right? We can round numbers. So you can round numbers using the what? You can use the math.floor, math.trunk, and the math.round, and the math.seal. So to do that, we'll do what? Floor, right, trunk, right, seal, and round, right? I think these APIs, yeah, I honestly don't know the difference between all of them. I just use them. I am sure that some of us know the difference. So I think for floor takes out what, the decimal part. If I over on it, it should tell us what it is doing. Yeah, returns the greatest integer less than or equals to the numeric argument. Okay, good. Um, so I think the thing with floor is that if you now have a -3, a -3.1, right? A -3.1 goes to 4, right? That is the way floor works. I honestly don't know until I probably check and I see documentation. So trunk, what does trunk do? I think trunc also truncates what it returns the integer part of the numeric expression, removing any fractional digit. If x is already an integer, the result is x. So this truncates. So whatever you give to it truncates it. Whatever you give to it truncates it. That is good. Um, all right. So that is strong. Then I think it just cuts out the decimal part, right? And then for the other one, which is the seal helps us to what? So if you over on seal, it takes this to what? It returns the smallest integer greater than or equals to the numeric version. Okay, so I think with seal is almost the opposite of floor. Seal is almost the opposite of floor, right? I don't know why somebody would need all of these things though, other than the common ones that we use, right? Which is the common one that we use, right? I think round sometimes is always enough. There's sometimes where you want to use strong and round, but I don't know the situations, right? I've not run into any situations that really require floor, but I mean, there will be some situations that require floor. So this is all the methods that is available for us to what do some things, right? So I mean, we can also, there's also a to fixed, right? So to fixed helps us to also like do significant figures. Is it significant figures or decimal place, whatever? But at least now you know that here it helps us to cut this to what a two decimal place, right there. So I think I mean they are just very handy. They are very handy methods. And if you look at to precision, I mean to precision should be what returns a string comparing containing a number represented either in the exponential or fixed point notation to a specific here. So the possible values that you can pass to precision is what? 1 to what? You can pass 1 to 21 inclusive. Okay. So that is to precision. Let's see to precision. Okay, so to precision is significant figure. It's something like significant figure in mathematics, significant figures. Do you know significant figures? Do we have anybody that knows significant figure here? Significant figures. I mean, I like mathematics a lot. I mean, and this is like your decimal places. Yes, like decimal places. So significant figure means that it's just going to return three things back, right? It's going to return three things back. And to fixed, it's going to return two decimals, right? Just two decimals immediately after, based on the way we used it here. So there are other APIs that we use to there are other API that we use to work with imprecise calculations, right? So the APIs that we use to, I mean, you would have seen this before. This is a common thing in almost every programming language, right? When you do 0.1 plus 0.2 and you get this 0.4. So I think part of the way we can fix this problem here is to do like a math dot what a math dot no, I don't think we can do a math dot. I think we can do it. Can we do a dot to fixed at the end of this? Yeah, we should be able to do a dot to fixed and dot to fixed. And if you do a dot to fixed one, right, we can get the correct result. So that is a way to handle imprecise operation, right? A way to handle imprecise operation. So we also have how do we get I mean there is infinity, right? There is infinity, depends on what operation you're trying to do, right? um let's see, there is infinity. Basically, numbers allow us to do calculations in decimals, and we can you can do calculations in decimal. But I think like the major thing here is major thing here is the ability to use the dot to fixed. Let's see whether the dot yeah, good evening. Good evening, Adiremi. We can do a dot to exponential or to dot exponential, right? So this is another interesting one, right? It helps us to return a number back in the exponential format, or we also have the dot to precision, right? I think so. This also works. I think this works. So yeah, it works. It works. Depends on what we're trying to achieve. So we also have the ability to check, right, if something is finite or is any hen, right? So is finite is just a way to it's just a way to check is finite is a way to check if a number is, is finite, right? I don't know how to explain that, but finite is just the number is defined and it's a finite, like a finite value that 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 is a numeric number, right? That's what the finiteness of a number is. And then we also have a way to check if a number is NaN. So that is, if a number is NaN, right? So NaN arises anytime we're trying to add anytime we're trying to add anytime we are trying to add two things that are not compatible together. So for example, if you try to add what 1 and A together, right? That is what NaN, right? That is the NaN, right there. And if you check for 1, right, 1 is not NaN because 1 is a number. So not a number is the full meaning of what NaN, right there. So what else can numbers? What other things can we do on number that we have the pass int and the pass float. We have the pass int and the pass float. What is the work of pass int and pass float? What is the work of pass int and pass float? So their job is literally to convert, like to convert something that is a number and give us what the equivalent of that in number format, like in raw format. So if you pass a number that contains string, most importantly when you're working you're doing CSS things within JavaScript. So you can pass 100px, right, and it's going to give you 100. So JavaScript is smart enough to strip out all the px, right, and allow you to use the number. And also we can use this to convert numbers from one base to the other, right? You can use it to convert number from one base to the other. So we can use this to convert from one base to the other, and we can say give us this in base 2. No. What is this? What is this returning? uh if I pass what is this returning? I don't know. I don't understand what this returning though. uh I know that pass int should be able to take a string and a radix, right, to give us like the base 2 or the base 3, base 4, base 5. Why is it not working? Oh, look at me, 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 look at me. So this is what I wanted to do. I think so. So this should be possible. I think it should be possible. Why is it not working? Pass int. You pass it a string. Okay, let's see. Do I have to pass a? Okay, okay. So it doesn't take. Oh. I think I know what the problem is. Okay. Then give us the base 2 version, right? The base 3. This can be the base 2 version of this though. Base 4. It can be the base 4 of this though, but I think this is like he's doing something like 4. This is 4 raised to power 4, but I'm trying to understand what it is doing here. Hmm. It converts a string to an integer, right? So it can pass a string. So let's see. Okay, it has to be. I think this is very interesting. So it has to be a string. It has to be a string. This is supposed to be. Um, let's pass into, yeah, convert. Does it assume what's the default base here? If the argument is not supplied, okay. The string with prefix OX are considered decimal. Let's see. If we say OB, right? OB to base 10, right? OB to base 10 to base 2. It's already in base 2, so say it wants to go to base 10, base 2, base 16. I mean, this is, and so I think these are just ways to convert different things into ways to convert different things. We convert different things to different base, and we can say base 3, base 4, base 5, base 6. Don't know what is going on. I think default should be something that looks like this, and it should be able to take it to base 8, base 4. This is not base 4. Convert a string, a value. Don't know what is going on though. Something is going on. A value between 2 and 6 that specifies the base of the number if the argument is not supplied. String with a prefix of OX are considered hexadecimal. All others are considered decimal. Yeah, I know this should be decimal, and if you try to take this to base 4, should it be 64? Should it be 64? I don't even know whether it should be 64 or not. But I know that parseInt support us to use two things, which is what? The string and a radix, which is something similar to what the dot to string that we did earlier does for us, right? You have a number and you can convert it to dot to what? To base 2 or to what? To base 16, right? Right there. So that is that. I think it does something similar, right? For pass float, it converts a string to the floating point version of it. And let me try to understand what pass float is doing. Uh, okay, I think with this one, I think we have to specify. Hmm, we then have to specify. We then have to specify. So this here, FF here is okay. Saying that FF is in base 16 and is giving us the equivalent in decimal. Okay, I think I get what is going on. So here, FF is in base 16, so but is returning 225, which is in decimal version. I think I get what is going on, and I think we can prefix it this way. So if I want to do a binary, So I'm going to just do like OB111, and I'm going to specify base 2, right? And I think this should be what? This should be 7, right? In base 10. Beautiful. And if I had one more, right? 15. If I had one more 0, right? 14. And I mean, yeah, I think I get what it's doing now for us. So this is a way to convert something in another base now. So this is saying that both of this one value here is in base what, base 2, and it will then convert it to what, to the decimal version of that thing. So that is that about numbers. And obviously we have math.random. By now we should all know how to use math.random, right? It generates random value between what, 0 and what, 1, between 0 and 1. So if you want to generate a random number between 0 and 6, then you can multiply by 6, and we always have what, random values, right, that will never be up to 6 right there. So that is a little bit about all of these. Yeah, we have math.power, right, for finding square root. um we have math.max and minimum, right, to compare different values to get the max between a particular number. And then we have math.power, which is the same thing as what, 2 raised to power 10, or it is the same thing as what, 2 double asterisk, the same thing as 2 double asterisk base what, base 10, right there. So that is what the interesting thing there. Another thing, I think that is basically all about what, all the things about number. So if you want to know more about all the things that number can do, right, you want to go into your browser and go to what, MDN, and you search numbers, and then you'll be able to see what, all of the methods, the APIs, right, the static methods, the static properties, which are the constants, right, the instance method to exponential to fixed to local to precision, right, you'll be able to see all of these right on your own hand. So if you need anyone, you'll be able to search for it and you'll be able to come for it. Any questions regarding to what, understanding numbers and some of the methods that you can use to manipulate numbers? Any questions? I believe it's quite very straightforward, right? Very straightforward and very handy. It's very straightforward and it's very handy. It's very straightforward and it's very handy, right? Yeah. And it has some constants as well, like what, epsilon, max safe integer, max value, mean safe integer, mean value, number dot what, number dot nan, right, which is also another way to confirm if a particular what, a particular method is what, is a particular value is not a number, right? And I think is this number dot nan is the same thing as um it's also the same thing as, I think it's the same thing as is NaN. Is it the same thing as is NaN? Oh, okay. I don't think it's the same thing. This is just giving us a value, number dot nan, which is a value. Right? Number dot is nan confirms whether a particular number is what, is nan. So that is that. Any questions? If we don't have any questions, we can quickly jump on to what? Onto strings. So basically, how do we declare strings, right? How do we declare strings? Is that how you use the string constructor, or we use is that how we use the string constructor, or we use the literal declaration for strings? Can you allow me to get a cup of water? Right, I'm feeling so dry. Um, All right. So for strings, like I was saying earlier, for strings, right, there are three major ways to to declare strings. We'll be talking about the single quote approach, the double quote approach, or the backtick approach. The advantage for the backtick approach is the backtick approach allow us to what to do multi-line, and it allow us to interpolate, right? And after that, um, we can also use escape sequences inside of what escape sequences inside of. So let's do declaration of strings, right? We can do str equals to what? We can say hello right there, and we can say let str1 equals to what this, and we can also say what um we can combine this thing together and say what let combined. So we can combine them together by concatenating them, right? str plus this, or we do what we do a combination that uses backtick. I think TypeScript should be able to convert this for us. No, yeah, I think TypeScript can help us, right? So you can see that with the help of TypeScript, we're able to convert to a template string. So template string uses a backtick, right? And we're able to do. I think we can also do a what an escape sequence, right? You can bring in an escape sequence right here. We can bring in an escape sequence, or you can do /tab, right, or /n, /n. That's new line, right? And we can do /what n here as well, or r for carriage return. So we have them in different in different shades there. So if we log this, yeah, it's not showing this here, but let's see if does it log it in a browser. um so we can say maybe bond dot, or let's see Dino. Let's check Dino and see. Let us equals to backtick /n. Right, it still doesn't render it here as well, but if we put it into the browser, I think the browser is supposed to be able to, if we put it inside the browser is supposed to be able to render the escape sequence. The browser is supposed to be able to help us to render such thing. And then we can do new line hello, another new line string. See whether this understands it. It doesn't also render it here as well. But what the escape sequence do for us is that they help us to the escape sequence just helps us to what to do special characters, right? They help us to do what special characters, right? That's what the escape sequence helps us to do. They help us to be able to work with special characters. Maybe instead of me just even using the double quotes, I think I was supposed to use the backtick. I think so. I think so. Did I use backtick properly? Look at what I've been doing for God's sake. Right, so you can see that it works inside of the browser. I know it should work inside the browser. At least it should work inside the browser. That doesn't work so well inside here. It doesn't work so well in the terminal, in the REPL. See, read eval loop environment doesn't work very well here. So what can we do with strings, right? Some of the major things that we can do with string is you can know the length, right? The length is like one of the most common one of any strings, right? And we've talked about using escape sequences, right? We can get the length. We can get the length of any string, right? We can get the length of any string any day, anytime. We are also able to we're also able to use we're able to use I think the escape sequence should not only work inside double quotes alone, but when you are doing like inside of the browser, it should only work there. But I think the double quote and escape sequence should also work as well. It should work as well. All right. So again, the advantage of using backtick, right, for declaration of strings. What's the advantage of using backtick for declaration of strings? I think the advantage is that by ourselves we can go to the multi-line, right? By ourselves, we can go to the multi-line, and this is valid, right? This is very much valid, right? So the more you press enter, you see that the browser knows by itself and is generating the what, the right escape sequence for what we have been doing there. So that is the advantage of what the back tick. And another advantage of the back tick is the interpolation, right? Which is what the dollar curly braces and a particular variable in between the dollar open dollar, like in between the dollar and the open and close curly braces, you can calculate, you can do operations, right? You can do a valid JavaScript expressions, right? It will work right there. And this is one of the beauty of what, of inter using the backtick declaration for string. Forward slash n refers to new line, forward slash r refers to carriage return, forward slash t refers to tab, and we have you can escape a forward slash in itself with what, double forward slash. Okay, so strings are immutable, right? Another thing there is that if when we declare the str, we cannot you cannot change a particular value of this str because they are zero index now. You can't change this now, right? You see, it doesn't agree with what we did here, right? It doesn't agree, it doesn't change it. So the only way to do this is to what, to to do some advanced what, some advanced way of what, of operating with our what, of operating with our string. And one way in which we can operate with our string is to carry out some, some manipulations, whether with a dot slice or with a method where, or dot str or index of, right, or some other methods like that. So again, strings are what, immutable, that is, you cannot mutate them, right? And also strings are zero based in their indexing arrangements, that is, str zero represents the first letter, while str what, str square bracket of length, str dot length minus one represents what, the last, what, the last element of that of what, of the string, right? What else can we do with string? What are the beautiful things that we can do with string, right? You can turn a string from uppercase to lowercase. So you can say str, right? Str uppercase and str lowercase. So if you want to create another function called capitalize, right, you can create a function called capitalize, which is what? Capitalize. And the goal of this capitalize here is to what? The goal of the capitalize is to the goal of the capitalize is to return the capitalized version, that is always capitalize the first, what, the first letter of what, or the first letter of any string. So here, some programming language gives us capitalize internally, but JavaScript we don't have. So you have to create one yourself, and then you can capitalize your hello or any word that you need to capitalize. I think this is what something that is possible. Another thing that is also possible here with our strings is that what we can search, right? And what we can use to search is what you can do str index of what, L, right? Where is the position of L, right? What is the position of L, right? And also we can do so str occurs in what? S That's true. If you want to find the index of L the second time, that would have been the last index of, right. Yeah, we find the last index of, what if we have three letters? That's interesting. We have three letters. How do we do that? So this is what a way to find what values, whether it is index of, which is something similar to what we have with our arrays. It's something similar to what we have with our arrays, right? There is an array method that is index of, right, that helps us to find the index of a particular member of the array. Okay, now if we have double L or triple L, we can specify index of what? We can specify index of, and I think index of takes what? Index of says that we can what? You can take another thing called what, apart from the first thing called start string, you can pass the next thing, which is position, right? So you can say comma 3, right? And it knows that, okay, not the first one now, give me this one that starts from this particular position right there. What else can we do? What other thing can we use to search? um think we should be able to use another one. So we can also search. You can search within. You can write a function that can search within a sentence or within a word. So function that can search or find, right? Because this only works. This works in. Yeah, this will also work in multi-word as well, right? But it will not give us like the best of the best experience. Mm. Let's see if we have Ade is a boy, and if we have Ade is a boy, and you say the index of is, and we wrap all of that in a console.log. What do we have? That's a 4, right? Hmm. Right. And say we have a sentence and we want to find um all of the occurrence of we want to find all the occurrence of, so here we want to list out all the occurrence of A, right? We want to list out all the occurrence of A in a sentence. We want to list out what all the occurrence of A. So we have what we can do, what, while, right? So you can say that what, while right? A condition. The goal is that you want to always get the position of that thing and always, like, break out. You can use this approach while true equals to this, right? Or we can also check for, we can always check the index of what something, right? Always check while the index of something is not. So you want to do while the str, right, dot index, right, index of target, right, of target is not what, while it is not equals to what, while it is not equals to -1, then it means it has found what we are looking for. And then you can then console.log, okay, the position that it got it. So right, because this will be the position here, you can say const what, this here will be the position. So here, and when we do that again, we can increase, like you can rechange, like you can reslice the whole thing such that what, it will move to the next thing right there. So let's see if this is going to work. So we can find in the string, Ade is a boy, Ade is a boy, give me all the occurrence of a, letter A. You see all the occurrence now. What does it return? Position is supposed to return a particular position, because here now a is supposed to occur. Let's just say here const post equals to what, and let's see. Hmm. Let's just see post. Let's see post here. So a occurs in position here. So if we pick a here, right? So a, you can see that it logs what? It logs twice, right? It logs 0 and 6 because a occurs in two places. That is, a occur in the first position and a occur on line, on the column line what, 6, right? As the case may be. So you can write this function in, in multiple ways. There are different interesting ways to write it. But this is a way to, if you have a sentence or a big word, then you can find something inside just to return that position right there. And also we can also use we have other interesting APIs like includes, right? Includes is very interesting as well. Then we have start with and we have end with. Then we also have some other interesting one like trim, right? You can trim, or you can trim start or trim end, right? These are very interesting APIs that the string exposes for us to be able to use, right? We can also replace, and we have replace all as well, right? We have replace and replace all. I think replace all should now be a little bit more powerful now. So this, all these are what? All these are APIs, right? That our string that we can run on our string. And if you want to check them more, right, you can come to the browser and check mdn to see what all of these things can do. So you can do string, right, and then you'll be able to see what all of them can do. And here you can see that what we have some static method. Example of the static method we have is what, from char points, from char code, and from code point. Now these two are used to generate, I was asking about if the cap A has any effect on the small letter. No, the cap A does not have any effect on the small letter. So you saw that I had to change that cap to what, a lower small letter, to be able to find it, to be able to get it as a target. Or we can write the code in another way where we, you say that whether it is what it is, just change everything to lowercase or make it not case sensitive, right? You can make it not case sensitive as well. That is, um yeah, convert both the target and the string to lowercase. But again, there can be specific cases where you're trying to find like a capital letter or a small letter in a string. So it depends on, it kind of like depends on what you're trying to do. But the capital A should not affect the small letter A in any regard, because they are two different things inside of the computer. Capital A and small a. I mean, capital A is represented by 90 something, I think so. Capital A dot, I think, is it code point now? Code point heart, and the value should be 65 for capital A, right? And small letter a should be 90 something, right? 97. So you see that they are represented with what different points on the computer. And also we have the other version of this one where you can specify 65. Let's say let code let code equals to what, 65, right? 65. And we can say that and then you can get the respective string from that code. And also we can also use there's also the char art and the char code art, right? The char art is the same thing as what, is the same thing as your indexing, whether it's the square array or the zero, or and what else can we do with string? Basically, I mean, there's a lot that we can do with string, but my time is really up. I don't want to go beyond 1 hour. And I think the last one I want to um really focus on is slice works just like slicing in an array, so it's pretty much the same thing. The last one I want to focus on is we can compare strings, right? You can compare strings, right? You can compare two strings, right? And definitely you saw me do that in the last one as well, where I was trying to compare, right, between what small letter a and capital letter a. Obviously, you know what computer does here, right? It converts this to the respective code, and it converts this to the respective code, right? And that is the way the computer that is the way the computer is able to that's the way the computer is able to understand what is going on. So definitely here we said what a is what we said a is 65, capital A is 65, and small letter a is what, 90, what, 97. So what happens here is that literally here the computer tries to compare what, 97 and what, and 65, right? And obviously 97 is greater than 65, so it's console.log what, 1, right there. So that is something that is also very interesting and powerful, right, for us to also know about comparing. And you can not just only compare small letters, right? We can also compare, words, right? If so we can do it, we can do this local compare as well. You can do this local compare, right, which it uses, the local compare tries to use the local or the default language within our system to do a form of comparison, right? So this compares this with this. I don't know how the local compare works though, but it determines whether two strings are equivalent in the current or specific local. Okay, okay. So this just shows whether those two strings are what, equivalent. So they are not equivalent, right there. So that's how the local compare works. And like I said again, we can compare words, right? You can compare if maybe a day is greater than is greater to body, right? And this should be false, right? So yeah, it's going to first compare what with letter, right? I think, I mean, this is very interesting, right? The way the computer is able to compare all of these letters. So I think there's an algorithm that explains how the computer compares, right? Right. There's an algorithm on how the computer compares, how the computer compares how the computer compares when you have words like this, right? I think the algorithm should be on MDN as well. It should be on MDN if you want to know much about how it compares. So we have art. I think so. Art is now in here. We have art. We have concat to join strings. We have end to it. We talked about end to it. We have is well formed. I think this is pretty much new. Is well formed method of string value returns a boolean indicating whether the string contains a lone surrogate. Okay, what is a lone surrogate? Okay, I don't even know what a lone surrogate is though. So if I click on loan surrogate, I think it will explain what loan surrogates are for me to know what loan surrogates are. Then we have match, right? This uses regular expression behind the scene, right? Then match all also use regular expression. Then the pad, right? Pad helps us to pad something, right? So you can pad, for example, now you can pad this 200 by what to end with 5, so it will add two more spaces to this 200 right here. Then we have repeat, we have replace all. Then we have search. This also uses regular expression. Then we have which other one do we have? To local uppercase to lowercase, right? Is well formed to well formed. Trim start, trim end, and the value of. So these are all the methods that what the string is able to to run with. So there is like I said again, there is an algorithm that guides the way words are being compared in strings when we're trying to compare two words together, right? Which you can just search it and look for it to understand how the computer compares two long words or together. So I mean that is just everything basically on the hand of what strings and numbers, right? And next time on the stream I'm going to just be going to I'm just going to be moving to um advanced working with functions. I think this is going to be powerful, right? Recursion, right? We will learn how to write recursive functions, then we'll learn how to use the rest and spread parameters, rest parameter and spread operator. Then we'll learn how to to create closures, global object, add to the global object, function object, the new function syntax. I used the new function syntax on one of my slide dev. I think I used it in the Vue.js, the Vue class note. For those of you who know about this here, so I think I used it here. It was what I used to make this work, the code runner to work. This code runner, right? I used the new function here to make this work here. And I think, I mean, this is powerful because again, like I keep telling people, right? This is just this component here is what controls, all of the things that are here. So I used, if you go to GitHub, if we go to GitHub, you'll see the code that powers this thing up, right? If you want to go to GitHub, I think if we click here, it will take us to Vue class notes with S. Vue class notes with S. So under setup, right? I think under setup, we have code runners, and if we check here, you see here, there is a new function syntax here. right? You can see the new function syntax. So I use this here. So all of these things are a little bit handy, right? If we know a little bit about what we are doing. I'm also thinking of changing. This uses Babel behind the scene. So I think I'm also thinking that I should add um I think I was considering using unplugging. I think unplugging unplugging has a particular they have a particular they have a particular one that works with they have a plugin. um I think so. There is one. I can't remember the particular one. Unplugging. There's there's one unplugging. Um I can't remember where I saw that particular one. Maybe on their GitHub, right? But I know that there's one unplugging that I saw that could work here. I think is one here. Where is it? I think it's this one here. So I'm not sure, but I know that what it does is it's if I give it a JSX, right, it will give me the equivalent string back. Yes, I think so. I think so. I'm not sure if this can work though. I'm not sure if this can work. No, it won't work. I think so. It cannot work. Hmm. Because I was looking at a way to improve what I did. Uh, can it take a function? Let me try something. Whether it can take a function. Let me try whether it can take a function. I mean, let's see. If it can take a function, that would have been very cool, right? But I doubt whether it can take a function. I just doubt that. Doubt whether it can take a function. It can't work. Yeah, it can't. It can't. It can't. I wish it can work. Wish it can work. It can work. But it takes JSX, right? And it converts it to HTML string. That's what this thing does here. It takes JSX string and it returns back the thing back there. But that will be all for today's stream though. Thank you for joining once again, right? I do appreciate everybody who joined, and I hope you've learned one thing or the other right here. And I will see you guys on another episode of the stream. Um, yeah, bye for now.